Awesome. Okay, well, welcome. Thank you for joining. You've all joined before, so let's go ahead and get started in a comfortable muted position, and hopefully everyone is muted so I can stay on the big screen in case people have to see me. Okay, so maybe sitting cross-legged and sitting up nice and tall so the spine is lengthening up towards the ceiling. Let the chin be kind of slightly tucked and the shoulders are relaxed. Maybe here we just kind of roll the wrists out for a moment. We will definitely be using these in lots of downward facing dogs and plank poses. Maybe you start to close the eyes and then let the hands rest gently on the knees. And we'll of course begin by breathing and just kind of arriving at our yoga practice and not having any expectations of how the practice will go, and kind of just allowing yourself to flow and practice and move and not having any sort of judgments on yourself. And as you're here, notice the muscles of the face. So maybe unhinge the jaw and move it from side to side. And then why don't we take 3 deep breaths in and out. So we'll take long, deep breaths in through the nose. And long, full, slow exhales out through the mouth. Begin to notice how your body and your mind begins to calm down with the breath. And if there's any sort of intention that you would like to set for your practice while you're on the yoga mat, and maybe it carries on throughout the night, go ahead and set that. And let's do another full breath in. And a full exhale out. Before we get moving, notice how you're feeling right now. So sometimes for me, my goal throughout the yoga practice is just to keep this calm state of being throughout the whole class. So even in a challenging pose or one where I feel like I'm struggling more than usual, knowing that you can always come back to simple breaths, and it can really change things for you. Let's go ahead and gently blink the eyes open. And why don't we take a full deep breath in? So reach the arms out to the sides and then big sweep up. So engage through the arms, spread those fingertips like you're really reaching, and bring the palms together to touch. And then we'll exhale back down the same way, palms now face down towards the ground. And again, big inhale, sweep the arms up. And then exhale, bring the arms back down. And we'll do that one more time. So you get to decide the pace of your breath and your practice. Big inhale, sweep the arms up. Maybe you look up at the ceiling a little bit. And then big exhale, palms back down towards the ground. And let's leave this right hand on the mat. We'll inhale, reach the left arm up towards the ceiling. So nice length all the way through the left fingertips, breath in. And then exhale, reach over to the right. And from here, decide if you'd like to drop down onto that right forearm for a bit of a deeper stretch. And maybe you start to gaze up at the ceiling, and with that, the chest and heart begins to roll open as well. All right, press yourself back up through center, and we'll go to the other side. Left arm down, we inhale to lengthen, reach up. And exhale, reach to the left. Option to drop down to that forearm for a bit of a deeper stretch. Keep reaching those right fingertips. Maybe you gaze up at the ceiling. And another breath in. And exhale back through center one more time, and we'll just do it a bit quicker. Inhale, reach the left arm up. exhale, reach over to the right. Take a breath in. And exhale, let the body fold over that right thigh. We'll stay for one breath. And exhale, back up through center. Drop that left hand. Inhale, sweep the right arm up nice and high. Awesome. Exhale, reach. Take a breath in. On the exhale, fold the upper body over the left thigh. Inhale. And breathe out right back towards center. And now we'll do a twist to the right. Inhale, sweep the arms up. And exhale, twist to the right. So here we're hugging the belly button in towards the spine. Heart's lifting up. Crown of the head is still lifting up towards the ceiling. And our grip on the fingers is gentle. And notice if you can maybe carry your gaze over the right shoulder. Stay for another breath in. And exhale, come back towards center. Inhale, sweep the arms up nice and high. And exhale, twist to the left. Again, notice if the gaze can go a bit over the shoulder, getting more of a twist through the spine. And exhale, come back towards center. Let's reach our hands out in front of us and just start to creep them forward a bit. Maybe you drop down to the forearms in here, tuck the chin a bit towards the chest. The back of the neck is long, gazing between the two elbows. And you can almost press into the elbows and send the hips back into the mat a bit to get a bit of a nice stretch. And let's lift right back up towards center. And then rolling the shoulders out a little bit, hugging them up and letting them drop down. Switching directions. And then we'll transition right into some neck stretches. So we'll take the right ear to the right shoulder. Beautiful. Up through center and to the other side. All right, back up through center. Why don't we come into child's pose? So hopefully everyone's feeling a little bit loose and relaxed. I want to work on bringing our knees to the edges of the mat. And if it feels okay on the ankles, flip onto the tops of your feet with the big toes to touch. And start to reach the fingertips forward towards the front edge of the mat. Spread those fingertips and let your chest drop down towards the yoga mat. And your forehead should be resting on the mat or a yoga block or on top of the hands, which can stack one over the other. And feel soft in the belly and really see if you can let the heart sink down towards the ground. And we have a couple options here. So first, let's notice how a really restorative, relaxing child's pose feels. So the elbows are resting down on the mat. And the fingertips are spread wide, but the finger pads aren't really pressing down. The finger pads are just gently on the ground, and we're just breathing. And then spread the fingertips a bit wider. See if you can creep the fingertips forward, maybe another inch. We're going to engage through the arms, press through the finger pads, and notice the elbows start to lift up off the mat. And as we press with our finger pads and engage through the arms, we start sending our hips back closer towards our heels. So this would be a more active child's pose. And then decide which one you like. So if you like the more restorative one, go ahead and loosen the grip in the finger pads. Let the elbows fall towards the earth. And we'll stay in child's pose for 3 breaths. All right. Hopefully that felt nice. And now press up into your tabletop. So for tabletop, we'll bring the knees a bit closer towards one another so that they're under the hips. And the hands are about hips width distance apart, and we'll just take some circles with the hips. So have a nice bend through the elbows as you move here. Maybe you keep the gaze between the 2 hands. So we want to protect the neck. So always kind of keeping it pretty neutral. Going from side to side and maybe switching directions for a couple more breaths. Okay. Find your way back towards center. And we'll work on finding a really active and engaged tabletop. The fingertips are spread nice and wide, and our index fingers are facing directly forward. So my index fingers are pretty much parallel with the edges of my mat. My shoulders are stacked right over my wrists, and go ahead and feel your core. So engage it, hug the belly button in towards the spine. We don't want to be sinking or dropping in and just like lazily sort of hanging out. So we want to be active. So we press the earth away from us and engage the core for tabletop. And from here, send the right foot to the back edge of your mat and flex that right foot. So these right toes are face down. If you notice your right hip is kind of peeling open, we want to try to avoid that. So we engage the core, try to make this right hip even with the left. And we're just going to hold here for 3, 2. Pretend that this right heel and foot, the sole of the foot is pressing up against the back of a wall. So the whole leg is engaged for another breath. And exhale, lower it down, but bring the right toes to the back edge of your mat, and we'll transition right into a calf stretch. So press into the finger pads, and the aim is to work on sending that right heel down towards the ground to feel that nice stretch. And bring it back, tabletop position. And so we'll do that again on the left side. So build your foundation, feel nice and strong. And then from there, when you're ready and the low abs are engaged, send the left foot back behind. We're really engaging the full leg. So kick through this back left heel. The sole of the foot is pressing up against a wall. And if you want, feel the core, feel the abs engaged. And from here, be pressing into the top of that right foot. So the hands and that right knee and right foot are keeping you stable. And we'll hold for 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and drop the toes to the back edge of the mat. And then press into the hands and send that left heel down towards the ground to feel a nice stretch. Awesome, bring it on back, tabletop position. Let's give our shoulders a break and transition into puppy pose. So the knees can stay where they are, hips width distance apart. We start to reach the fingertips forward and drop the chin or forehead to the mat. So this is a great opening for the shoulders. If this feels too much on the shoulders, you can kind of tent your fingertips. And that can feel a bit different. So at any point throughout the practice, if down dog is feeling painful or uncomfortable, you could always take puppy pose as a modification. And press on back up, tabletop position. And from here, let's just roll out the wrists a bit. You can flip onto the backs of your hands with the fingertips kind of facing one another. So the tops of the hands are on the mat. That can feel like a nice stretch if the wrists have okay range of motion. Let's begin to slide our right foot forward between the two hands to the top edge of the mat. We'll come into a half camel. So the right toes are facing directly forward with the ankle under the knee. And we want to be pressing into that right foot and kind of sitting up. So we aren't sinking into the hips like we would be in our twist, which we'll get to in a minute. So we're really pressing into whatever's on the ground. So bring the hands to the top of the right knee if that feels okay. My back toes are tucked under, but if you like being on the top of the foot, you could do that. So for half camel, we're going to take a breath in and press the hands into the top of the knee. And if it feels okay, take a slight back bend here. And so the collarbone gets really wide from east to west. And then to keep going in this pose, the left hand drops back to the left ankle or the calf. And see what feels okay for the neck. So keeping the chin tucked a bit or really letting it hang back if that feels okay. So the right hand can stay on the top of the knee or it can reach up towards the ceiling or even kind of way back behind you to get a stretch through the right side body and the shoulder area, sort of. And another breath in. And exhale, slowly come back up and drop a hand on either side of the foot and then melt into the hips, which hopefully feels really nice. So as you melt it into the hips, this right knee may have scooted forward past the right ankle. So if it did, just scoot the right foot forward a bit. And we'll stay here just for a moment. So option to move from side to side. And we'll come into our twist. So let's leave this left hand down on the ground. Inhale, twist the right arm up. And as you exhale, drop it down. And breath in, reach that left arm up. And on the exhale, back down. One more time each side, use the breath. When you've got both hands back down on the ground, shift back to the runner's stretch. Work on straightening through that front leg. Move slowly here as the left hip is kind of adjusting to the movement. And it's obviously okay to have a soft bend through the right knee. Flex the right toes towards your face to feel that stretch through the calf. Bend through the right knee and bring the right sole of the foot to the floor. Walk the hands up so that they're on either side of the foot and tuck the back toes under and let's lift this back knee. From here, why don't we move forward into modified airplane. So we're gonna stay standing on the right foot and go ahead and lift the left foot up. And in a modified airplane, our chest is staying lifted and the hands are on the floor for support. If you'd like to try without the support, go ahead and reach the arms up, palms face down with the hands reaching back to that back foot. And so really engaged through the legs. Back of the neck is nice and long. See if you can let that heart lift up a little bit. Stay for another breath. And exhale, slowly lower the foot and hands and come into a forward fold. So the feet are shoulder width distance apart. Bend the knees and drop your head. And another inhale. And big exhale out. And leave the hands on the ground and let's step the feet back. Come back to your tabletop. And from here, we'll slide the left foot forward between the two hands. Make sure those left toes are facing directly forward. Really press down through this left foot. Before we sink into the hips, engage through the core like we're hugging energy up and in. And when we're doing this, we're really engaging this right quadricep as well, so the front of the thigh. The hands can come to the top of the left knee. So whatever is in contact with the floor, really ground down to that. And then in the next inhale, maybe you press the hands into the knee and you take a slight back bend. Again, that heart is getting wide and the gaze starts to creep up towards the ceiling. You can stay here, or to go a step farther, we bring this right hand to the right calf. And notice if it's really like rigid and tight. See if you can just be light. So the fingertips are almost just grazing. The elbow is fluid. And then option to lift the left hand. And you get to decide. And of course, keep it with a nice, easy, steady breath as we move through. And on the next exhale, let's come back and bring the hands to either side of the foot and melt into the hips. Notice if the left knee is now sliding forward in front of that left ankle. If so, slide the left foot forward a bit. And in this stretch, I'm feeling a stretch through the right hip flexors as we kind of melt a bit with each exhale. And we'll leave the right hand down, and on the inhale, use the breath, twist the left arm up towards the ceiling. And exhale, let it go. Breath in, reach the right arm up. Exhale, lower down. Use your breath on these last two. We've got both hands on either side of the foot and send the hips to the back edge of the mat. Work on straightening that front leg. Flex the left toes towards the face now. Notice if in the runner's stretch, if we start to kind of cave in a bit. I always like working on keeping my spine nice and flat, like this stretch is being led from my heart almost. So as I lean forward more for a deeper stretch, I'm kind of leading with the heart to see how far I can go. And then use the hands for support here. Bend the left knee, bring the left sole of the foot down to the floor. We're going to transition into that modified airplane. So to get there, tuck these right toes under and lift that back knee. And let's start engaging our core right now as we make our way into that modified airplane. The left foot is going to stay down, maybe bend the right knee and hop forward. So then the right foot lifts up. And just like how our foot was for tabletop in the beginning, flex the right toes down towards the ground. We don't want the right hip rolling open. And like the sole of the right foot is pressing into a wall so the whole leg is engaged. And we're using the core. Back of the neck nice and long. And find your airplane modified or not and hold for 3 breaths. And when you're all set, nice big exhale, come on down, forward fold. Any arm variation that would feel good. So ragdoll, you can grab opposite elbows, drop the head. Come into a shoulder stretch by interlacing the hands at your low back. Squeeze the palms together, and then let the knuckles start to drop forward, almost up and over the head. And on an exhale, gently release whatever arm variation you're in. And we'll inhale to a halfway lift. So check out the feet. They should be hips width distance apart. You've got a soft bend through the knees. Let the inhale bring you up. Core is active, hands to the shins. There's space between the ears and the shoulders. And on the exhale, fold. We'll do that 2 more times. On the breath in, left. And on the exhale, fold. And again, breathe in and left. And exhale, fold. Now, before we rise up to stand, press into all 4 corners of the feet. So notice if you can feel the mound of the big toe. And then maybe the edges near the pinkies. And then focus on the heel. See if you can really feel the inner and outer edges. And really press down so that you do feel grounded. And then on the next inhale, press into the feet. Keep a soft bend through the knees and we'll roll up to stand. And the arms will come up with us, so we'll take a couple half sun salutations. Big inhale, sweep the arms up. And now let's pause here. So maybe the hips press forward. Option for a little back bend as the gaze creeps up the ceiling. Exhale, fold forward, soft through the knees. And again, heart's leading the way as you fold. Let the neck go. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, fold. And again, full inhale, really press through the feet, rise up to stand. Inhale the arms up. And breathe out, fold forward. And we'll take that 2 more times. Inhale, lift halfway. And exhale, fold. Press through the feet, rise your way up. Arms sweep up. And big exhale to fold. And 1 more time. Use the breath. Halfway left. And fold. Press through the feet. Come and stand up. And fold forward. And we'll add on. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, put the hands on the ground and step back to a high plank. With high plank, you can always drop the knees down to the mat. It's kind of like how we were in our tabletop, so we're pressing the earth away from us. Hands and feet are hips width distance apart. If the knees are not dropped, then the backs of the knees are lifting up towards the ceiling. The thighs are lifting up towards the ceiling, backs of the thighs. And the core is engaged back, the neck is nice and long. On the inhale, shift forward in your tippy toes just a little bit so the shoulders come over the wrists. And then exhale back. Why don't we do that 2 more times? Breath in, come forward. Exhale back. Awesome. Use the core. 1 more. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, come back. Drop the knees down. Start to be gentle in the elbows and sink your hips down. Flip onto the tops of your feet. This pose just always feels like the best thing ever. at least to me. And just rock from side to side. So enjoy this kind of moment of pausing and feeling. Okay, tuck the toes back under, and we'll come back into that high plank. We're going to transition into a low plank, so we do that by inhale, shift forward in the tippy toes, back for neck still nice and long, and let's start to bend the elbows, but they bend in so they graze the ribs, and we lower all the way down. Flip onto the tops of your feet. So my elbows are still bent. I'm going to walk my fingertips forward about an inch so the hands are really under the shoulders. And we'll take a cobra pose. So as you inhale, press into the hands ever so gently and lift the chest up. And we're not really cranking the neck, so we're not looking up at the ceiling. I'm just looking at the front edge of my mat. And we don't want to be too tight on our glute muscles, so we kind of want to be pressing into the top of the feet a bit. And as you exhale, slowly lower down and maybe rest the right cheek down. We're going to do that again, so leaving the elbows bent, hands right under the shoulders. And on the next inhale, go ahead and lift the chest up again, cobra pose. Notice if the shoulders are creeping and inching up towards the ears, do the best to kind of keep those relaxed and creating some space between the ears and the shoulders. Another breath. Exhale, lower down. Maybe you rest the left cheek. And back again one more time. Inhale, lift the chest up. So the elbows are squeezing in towards the ribs, and to try something new, you can gently lift the hands up off the mat. The elbows are squeezing in, and really feel all the activity happening in the back and with the muscles. For 3, 2, and 1. Exhale, release, lower down. Bring the arms out to a T. Bend the heels so that the feet are face up to the ceiling, and just let the legs rock from side to side. So this hopefully feels like a nice release on the low back. And we'll come into bow pose. So keep the knees bent and keep the heels kicking in towards the glutes. We're going to reach our arms back for our outer ankles. And so before we go anywhere, let's really build this. So if this is not feeling good for you, there's an option to just do one leg at a time. So the other leg would be laying long on the floor. When we go into bow pose, don't be cranking the neck up, so you're just gazing forward. Hug the knees in towards one another. Kind of roll the shoulders so that they're wrapping at the spine. Flex your feet and then kick your shins back into the hands. And it's kind of like a domino effect. So as you kick the shins into the hands, the upper body just starts to roll right up off the mat. And don't forget to breathe here. And notice where your edge is. So not pushing too far to the point of feeling pain or severe discomfort. Keep squeezing the knees in towards one another. Another breath in. Okay, exhale, slowly lower down. All right. And let those knees just fall from side to side again. And then lower the legs back down, and we'll press up into that kind of modified upward facing dog where the knees are down and the hips are sinking, the elbows are bent. And we're just kind of moving from side to side. And then why don't we press back into our child's pose, which will feel great on the low back after those heart openers. And then let the upper body sit up nice and straight. Bring the knees closer in towards one another, and we'll take hero's pose. So the hips are kind of situated right between the heels. And just like how we started practice, although we were cross-legged, we're sitting up nice and tall. Crown of the head is reaching up towards the ceiling, and the hands are just resting on the thighs. And then let's work our way with our bottom on the floor. So swing your legs around. And we'll come into some seated forward fold. So extend the legs out. And notice if you can kind of press into your hands a bit and situate yourself to sit up nice and tall. And then inhale, reach the arms up. And breathe out, reach for the feet. And so every breath out, every exhale, notice where you want to go. If you want to take a pose deeper, kind of folding in or going deeper on the exhale can feel really nice. And let's sit back up. We'll come into a tree pose. So bend your right leg. Leave the left leg nice and long. And we'll inhale to reach up. Awesome. Exhale, fold and reach. Back of the neck stays long, so maybe gazing at that left knee. Then leave the legs as they are. Come back to center, and we are going to place our right hand about 1.5 feet behind-ish the right knee. We're going to roll onto the right knee and the edge of the sole of the left foot. So the left foot grounds down. We roll onto this right knee and adjust yourself as needed. And then we're pressing the hips kind of forward and up, and this left hand can reach up and drop back. So a nice opening through this left side body. Whatever is touching the ground, really press down into it. And on the next exhale, however you have to kind of find your way out of that pose and swoop your way back down. And let's go to the other side. Right leg is out nice and long. Bend that left knee. Inhale, reach up. And exhale, reach. And then you can stay in this seated tree pose if you'd like, or if you'd like to kind of get that other stretch, start to lift the upper body up. Place the left hand on the ground and be open to maybe adjusting the hand placement in whichever way the fingers are going. Let's roll onto the left knee and then ground the sole of the right foot down. The hips are pressing forward and up a bit. And this right arm is either reaching up and maybe dropping back too. So a nice opening through the right pec and the front of the shoulder and the upper arm. And next exhale, softly lower down. Hopefully that felt good. Bring the soles of the feet together. And if you don't usually use the Elbows to press against the inner thighs. Today is a great day to try and see how it feels to get a nice opening with the hips. And then again, leading with the heart, letting it start to fold towards the feet. And lift back up and come to center. Kick the legs out long, and let's roll down onto our backs. We'll come into our spinal twist. So begin by hugging the right knee into the right shoulder. We want to work on keeping our shoulders down on the mat, so we'll guide this left knee up and over the left. We roll onto the outer edge of that left foot, the left leg. And then floating back towards center and switching sides. Roll onto the outer edge of that right leg. Keep the right leg on your mat and work on keeping the shoulders down on the mat too, gazing up at the ceiling or over to the left shoulder. And if you ever feel like the bent knee is just kind of hanging out some, not feeling too stable, you can always place a block in this instance under the left knee or a pillow, and that can kind of help create some contact. And let's come back to center. Squeeze both knees into the chest, and wrap the arms around the shins and really press into the low back. And on your next exhale, gently release and let the feet and hands just fall wherever comfortable, and we'll come into our final resting pose for a minute. Begin to close the eyes, maybe palms face up towards the ceiling, or they can always rest on the belly as well. And here we soften and melt. Go ahead and take a full, deep, long breath in through the nose. And a longer exhale, slowly out through the mouth. And then in your way and in your time, we'll meet in a comfortable seated position, just like how we started. So still keeping a nice, calm, steady breath. Notice the grip on the fingertips on the knees, and relax the shoulders. Tuck the chin a bit, and we'll take a nice big full inhale to reach the arms up. Press the palms together, exhale, hands to heart center. Let's take a big breath in. And slow exhale out. Thank you all for joining and practicing. Namaste. I appreciate you guys hopping on, and I'll be teaching tomorrow at 6:30. And then that's it until the fall. So thank you all. If you ever have any questions, type them in, and hydrate and have a wonderful week.